Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors, the place where we not only talk about what's going on in the gun world, this beautiful country, and how we're going to fix both of them together, because they are linked. What we're about to cover is another excerpt from the FEMA hearing about how, the whole skipping Trump houses, you had a Trump sign, you don't get FEMA aid, even though you paid into the taxes and the entire system your entire life. Doesn't matter because you're an unsafe individual. Yeah. This hearing happened, and we got a lot of clips from this, but I want you to pick up a very important theme that consistently pops up. The theme is the executive bureaucratic state has more power to decide what to do and who gets what than we need it to. And it's always interesting. There's no accountability for them, but there's always consequences for you. Everything's going to be linked in the description box below. I can't wait to hear what you guys think, and please like this video, share this video, hit the subscribe button, and send this everywhere, because this is the exact same behavior that we see in the Second Amendment space, with Second Amendment hearings, with the DOJ, with the ATF. Oh, they all do the same thing. Oh, it's under investigation. Big, broad terms. This is incredibly important because the reps who are actually ripping FEMA a new one in these clips I'm showing you are directly over the target. It is bigger and broader than one specific thing. This is the government being out of control. Everything will be linked per usual. I can't wait to hear what you guys think. And of course, this content is brought to you by USCCA. They made this possible, and I want you guys just to make sure you know what's going down going into the new year. Because USCCA just added red flag law coverage. They didn't take anything out. They only added that in. And the reason that's so important is because in the 2025 year in the state legislatures in the blue, they're licking their wounds. They're going to come back hard, and they'll probably add more people to the red flag list, of which we will cover at a state level. This is a system where you are assumed guilty and prove your own innocence over a 12-month period without you ever facing your accuser, and it's only because someone who doesn't like guns or doesn't like you says you are a threat to yourself or others. You lose your guns, no questions asked, prove you're innocent. USCCA has coverage for that. There's a link in the description box below, guys. Just know your options so you are more aware to make an informed decision. Thank you so much to them for making this content possible, and we are going to dive in to this hearing because, oh my gosh, guys, this stuff is just asinine. Again, we're talking about how Trump-supporting houses were skipped during a freaking hurricane disaster zone. But don't worry, it was just an isolated incident. Yeah, because government's never done anything like this before. Turn the audio all the way up for you, and we're going to rip through this a little bit. There's some points I want to highlight for you.
The chair now recognizes the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Representative Andrew.
Chairman, thank you. Administrator, you seem like a really nice person, and you have a very nice personality, and you seem calm and gentle. So I'm going to apologize in advance because I'm angry, and I'm tired of it. I don't only sit on transportation. I sit on judiciary, and, I've been at hearings for hours where we were told that there wasn't any plan to go into Roman Catholic churches. And I'm digressing, I realize that. And yet we found out there was, and they had to apologize. We were told that nobody was going to school board meetings because people were reflecting their individual opinions. And again, over time, we dug in and found out there was. There is a culture in America that this issue represents and symbolizes. Now, I'm a plain speaker, I'm a plain talker, and I'm very direct.
All right, so I'm going to pause him real quick because he just hit the nail on the head with a freaking 308 from 100 yards. He nailed this because how many of you are, to use his words, sick of it, tired of it? And what he's alluding to is a theme that happens in all the executive bureaucratic agencies. Now we've got FEMA, he's got FBI, he's got ATF. All these agencies are telling Congress, who control the purse strings, no, we would never do that. That's completely, they're lying through their teeth in these hearings of which we cover all the time. ATF doesn't have a national registry, but they can find one gun record of one individual from 15 years ago amongst 980 million records, all of which are paper and there's no database. Come on. They lie flat out. And that's the entire point. They have a culture of lying and getting away with it. There is no accountability. Do you think 2024 had no reflections of that? From a standpoint of the House going red, the Senate going red, the White House going red, the judiciary going red. All of it's going red. The entire nation shifted to the right because this culture is shared not only with the 2A community, this is with everyone. The reason I'm doing these segments is because the thread of commonality is so massive to understand. We are not isolated over here in our 2A bucket. Everyone feels this way. They do the same thing in our hearings that are against our gun rights. They do the same thing for FEMA. They do the same thing for FBI, same thing for DOJ. This is an incredibly important theme to understand. It's a culture, and that's what he just said. But let's continue because this is some really important stuff.
So I'm going to ask you some things. I know you've talked about it, but the reason we keep going back to it, Administrator, it's a really big deal. It's the First Amendment that people have the right to express their viewpoint, their feelings, who they want to vote for, what they believe, whether they're liberal or conservative, Republican or Democrat, Trump or Harris, who cares? Because guess what? The folks on the other side of the aisle should know if it happened to us, it could happen to them. That's the reality. I believe that FEMA's blatantly neglected its core mission of providing emergency support to all Americans without prejudice or bias. And I also believe this doesn't happen in a vacuum. And I understand the person who's been fired, she swears that this came from above her. So the first question I'm going to ask you, that this was part of the administration. Is she a liar?
Her allegations, I have not seen any evidence that this is beyond her specific direction, but we are conducting additional investigations to ensure that this is an isolated incident.
So the truth
and that
is
we will take disciplinary action if there was more than her
The
direction.
truth is we don't know yet. It's the culture. It's the culture of what's going on.
Nailed it. It is the culture. That's the whole point. Rip the culture out from its root. Now, what he's saying there, and this is so crucial to understand how her language is so important. He said, is she flat out lying? She swears that this is a FEMA-wide system. Is she lying? And notice how the administrator didn't say she was lying. It just said, I have no proof at the current time to figure out if this is a systemic issue to back up her claims. But don't worry, we're investigating it. Well, she's either lying or she's not. But you can't say that for some reason. That's weird. It's just like when Merrick Garland goes on the DOJ and says we're investigating it. Remember Brian Malinowski in the ATF, the guy at the Little Rock? Was it Little Rock? I think it was Little Rock. The guy in the airport executive who got killed in his own home by the ATF because they did a 6 a.m. no-knock raid. Remember that one? And the ATF, Steve Dedebach, came up and said, well, I mean, it's investigated, so I can't speak on it. It's an ongoing investigation. You don't remember that? Then Representative, oh God, what's her name? Very, very, very awesome. I'll remember her name in a second. She comes up and says, you guys have so much power, you don't even know what to do with it. It's so vague. It's crazy. Oh, God, I'll remember her name in a second, but she's incredible. Anyway, let's continue and I'll get her name.
And you know, part of what they said, this individual, they called Trump supporters, and I know I know your answer is going to be, no to this, as, quote, vicious dogs, end quote. I want to just say how deep and mean this was. Do you believe that Trump supporters are vicious dogs?
That was a comment that was not made by me, and I do not believe in that comment, no.
Okay, I'm sure you don't. Do political affiliations with the Republican Party make someone inherently dangerous because they happen to be a Republican? Yes or no?
That is not in alignment with our core mission and our values of integrity, compassion, fairness, and respect.
And I agree, and I understand that, but think about this. People, when they are their most vulnerable, most in need, most scared, most worried, in the most trouble, probably in their entire lives, hardworking men and women of America, looking to a federal agency to protect them, to help them, to take care of them. And they got literally a knife in the heart. I mean, that's what this really represented. Those people, how do they feel? They break their back paying the taxes that keep us all going here. So when we finally are supposed to do a job, this is what happens. How heartbreaking is that?
Okay, so you guys get the idea. He's going after the culture piece, which is the right piece to go after, in my opinion. By the way, her name was Representative Spartz from Indiana. She's a firebrand. But anyway, that's the name I couldn't remember. When you're going into this, you have to understand, you and me pay into a federal system in our taxes. In my opinion, it's too much. You guys can let me know what you think. If it's enough or you want some more. I don't know. I have a feeling I know the answer to that one. But we pay into this. A hurricane comes by, wipes out everything that we hold dear. And because we have a Trump sign that's supporting one of the main political candidates in the entire United States, which represents around 80 million people's support, you're too dangerous. The problem's the culture, not the individual, because the individual felt empowered by the culture to do it. Whether it's a written statement or systemic, that's a different thing. She felt comfortable enough to do it. Just saying. Everything will be linked in the description box below. Can't wait to hear what you guys think. See you on the next one.